There are moments in life when everything changes in a single heartbeat, when the careful walls we build around ourselves crumble with just one glance, one mistake, one impossible truth. For Sofia Martinez, that moment came on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in a bathroom she had no business entering, and it would turn her entire world upside down in ways she never imagined possible. Sofia clutched the stack of fresh towels against her chest as she climbed the marble staircase of the Whitmore mansion, her worn sneakers barely making a sound on the pristine floors. 4 weeks, she had been working here for exactly 4 weeks, and still the sheer size of this place took her breath away. Every room was bigger than her entire apartment, every piece of furniture probably cost more than she would earn in a year, but she needed this job desperately. Her 7-year-old daughter Camila depended on it, and Sofia would scrub 1,000 floors before she let her baby go without. The clock in the hallway showed 3:15 in the afternoon. Sofia knew the schedule by heart now. Mr. Daniel Whitmore, the owner of this massive estate and CEO of Whitmore Industries, was always locked in his study at this hour, buried in conference calls and paperwork that she could never hope to understand. Rosa, the head housekeeper who had become something like a mentor to Sofia, had been very clear that morning. Change the towels in the master suite, fresh linens on the bed, make sure everything is perfect. Mr. Whitmore was particular about his space, though Sofia had noticed he was never unkind about it, just precise. She reached the heavy wooden door of the master bedroom and paused for just a second, her hand hovering over the ornate handle. Everything looked quiet, peaceful. She turned the handle and stepped inside, moving with the efficiency she had learned from Rosa. The bedroom was enormous, dominated by a massive bed with posts that reached nearly to the ceiling. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the gardens below, and the afternoon sun streamed through the sheer curtains, creating patterns of light and shadow across the hardwood floors. Sofia headed straight for the bathroom door, already planning her route. Drop off the towels, grab the used ones, get in and get out. She had other rooms to clean before her shift ended. She pushed open the bathroom door without thinking, without knocking, because why would she knock when Mr. Whitmore was supposed to be in his study, and that was when time seemed to slow down in the most mortifying way possible. Daniel Whitmore stood in the middle of the bathroom, fresh from the shower, water droplets rolling down his chest, down his arms, catching the light like tiny diamonds. A white towel hung low on his hips, and that was all. His dark hair was wet and pushed back from his face, revealing sharp cheekbones and a jawline that could cut glass. And Sofia, poor Sofia, simply froze, her brain completely shut down, forgot how to form words, forgot how to move, forgot how to do anything except stare with her mouth slightly open and her eyes wide as saucers. For what felt like an eternity but was probably only 3 seconds, they just looked at each other, him surprised, her horrified. Then Daniel's expression shifted, one eyebrow raised slightly, and the corner of his mouth twitched in what might have been amusement. You know, he said, his voice calm and steady, most people knock before entering a bathroom. I didn't, I thought, Sofia stammered, her face burning so hot she was sure she might actually burst into flames right there on his expensive bathroom tiles. Rosa said you were in the study. I'm so sorry, I'll just relax, Daniel said, running a hand through his wet hair. Accidents happen, but next time, maybe knock first, unless, he paused, that almost smile playing on his lips again, unless you want a repeat performance. Sofia's eyes went even wider if that was possible. She shook her head so fast she made herself dizzy. No, I'll definitely knock, always, I promise. I'm really sorry, Mr. Whitmore. She turned to leave, moved too fast, and the towels slipped from her arms, falling to the floor in a soft white pile. Sofia looked at the towels, looked at Daniel, looked at the towels again, and then she just ran, actually ran out of that bathroom, out of that bedroom, her footsteps echoing through the hallway as she practically flew down the stairs. Her heart hammered against her ribs so hard it hurt. She could barely breathe, barely think. The image of him standing there, water glistening on his skin, that confident almost smile, it was burned into her brain now, permanent and unavoidable. She burst into the staff bathroom on the ground floor, locked the door behind her, and slid down to sit on the cold tile floor. Oh my God, she whispered to herself, covering her burning face with both hands. Oh my God, oh my God. Sofia sat there for a full 10 minutes before her heartbeat finally slowed down. before the embarrassment stopped pulsing through her veins quite so intensely, she pulled out her phone with shaking hands and dialed the one person she knew would understand. Patricia answered on the second ring. "Hey girl, what's up, aren't you supposed to be working?" "Patricia," Sophia breathed out, "I just had the most embarrassing moment of my entire life." "Tell me everything," Patricia demanded, and Sophia could hear the grin in her voice. So Sophia told her, keeping her voice low even though she was alone in the locked bathroom. She described walking in on Daniel, the towel, the water, his response, her mortifying escape, and as she talked, she realized something that made everything so much worse. "The thing is, Patty," Sophia said quietly, "he's gorgeous, like absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I've seen him around the house obviously, but seeing him like that, it's not fair. How am I supposed to work here now when every time I see him I'm going to remember? And the worst part is, I think I might actually be attracted to him. Is that crazy? It's crazy, right? He's my boss, he's rich, he lives in a different world. But God, Patricia," he smiled at me, this little half smile like he knew exactly what he was doing to me, and my stomach it did this flip thing. "Girl," Patricia laughed, "you are in trouble." "I know," Sophia groaned, "I know I am. I can't be attracted to Daniel Whitmore. He probably dates models and actresses, women who wear designer clothes and know which fork to use at fancy dinners, not single mothers who clean houses for a living. I need to forget this happened. I need to be professional. I need to stop thinking about him standing there with water running down his, oh God, I'm doing it again." "You're human," Patricia said kindly, "and from what you've told me, he sounds like a good guy. He could have been angry about you walking in, but he wasn't." "That almost makes it worse," Sophia admitted. "If he was a jerk, this would be easier." They talked for a few more minutes before Rosa's voice calling her name made Sophia realize she needed to get back to work. She said goodbye to Patricia, splashed cold water on her still flushed face, and took several deep breaths. She could do this, she could be professional, she would avoid Daniel Whitmore as much as humanly possible, and eventually, hopefully, this horrible wonderful embarrassing moment would fade into a distant memory. Sophia unlocked the bathroom door and stepped out into the hallway, ready to face the rest of her shift with renewed determination. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that Daniel Whitmore was standing on the second-floor landing at that exact moment, having come looking for the towels she had dropped, and from his position above, with the afternoon light streaming through the windows, he had heard every single word of her phone conversation, every confession, every admission. The part about finding him gorgeous, about her stomach flipping, about not being able to stop thinking about him, he had heard it all. And as Sophia disappeared back toward the kitchen, completely unaware that her private confession had just become anything but private, Daniel stood there with a thoughtful expression on his face, his fingers drumming slowly against the polished wood of the banister. This complicated, impossible situation had just become infinitely more complicated, because the truth was, he had noticed Sophia too, noticed her kindness with the other staff, noticed how hard she worked, noticed the way she smiled when she thought no one was watching, and now he knew she felt something too, something that shouldn't exist between them, something that could ruin everything, something that, God help him, he wanted to explore anyway. The next morning arrived far too quickly for Sophia's liking. She had barely slept, tossing and turning all night with images of Daniel and that bathroom encounter playing on repeat in her mind. When her alarm went off at 5:30, she seriously considered calling in sick, but she couldn't afford to lose a day's pay, not with Camilla's school supplies needed and rent due in 2 weeks, so she dragged herself out of bed, got ready, and arrived at the Whitmore mansion at 7 o'clock sharp, just like always. Rosa greeted her in the kitchen with a knowing smile. "Heard you had an interesting afternoon yesterday." Sophia's face immediately burned red. "Who told you?" "Nobody tells me anything," Rosa chuckled, pouring Sophia a cup of coffee, "but I've worked in this house for 15 years, I notice things, like how you left those towels on the floor in Mr. Whitmore's bathroom, and how you practically ran through the house afterward looking like you'd seen a ghost." "I walked in on him," Sophia admitted quietly, accepting the coffee gratefully. "I thought he was in his study, Rosa, I swear I thought the room was empty." "These things happen," Rosa said kindly, patting Sophia's shoulder. "Mr. Whitmore is understanding, he won't hold it against you. Now drink your coffee and get to work, the morning rooms need attention. Sophia spent the next few hours cleaning with fierce determination, scrubbing floors that didn't need scrubbing, polishing surfaces that already gleamed, anything to keep her mind occupied and away from thoughts of her employer. She had successfully avoided seeing Daniel all morning, timing her movements carefully around his schedule, but her luck ran out just before lunch. She was carrying a basket of fresh laundry through the main hallway when she heard his voice. "Sophia, could you come here for a moment please?" Her heart jumped into her throat. She turned slowly to find Daniel standing in the doorway of his study, dressed in a crisp white shirt and dark slacks, looking every bit the successful businessman he was. His expression was unreadable, professional, which somehow made everything worse. "Yes, Mr. Whitmore," she said, setting down the laundry basket and walking toward him on legs that felt like they might give out at any second. He stepped back to let her into the study, then closed the door behind them. Sophia's pulse quickened. They were alone, in a closed room. After yesterday's disaster, this couldn't be good. "I wanted to talk to you about yesterday," Daniel began, leaning against his desk with his arms crossed, "about what happened." "I'm so sorry," Sophia blurted out. "It was completely unprofessional. It won't happen again. I promise I'll always knock. I'll knock 3 times, I'll knock so loud you'll hear me from anywhere in the house." The corner of his mouth twitched, that same almost smile from yesterday. "That's not what I wanted to talk about." Sophia blinked, confused. "It's not?" "I also wanted to talk about your phone conversation," he said quietly, watching her face carefully, "the one you had in the garden yesterday afternoon." The world seemed to tilt sideways. Sophia felt all the blood drain from her face. "My phone conversation," she repeated weakly, already knowing exactly which conversation he meant, already feeling the ground opening up to swallow her whole. "I was on the second-floor balcony," Daniel explained, his voice gentle despite the bomb he was dropping. "I came out for some air, and I heard you talking to your friend. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but by the time I realized what you were discussing, it felt wrong to announce my presence." "Oh God," Sophia whispered, gripping the edge of the desk behind her for support. "You heard everything?" "I heard enough," he confirmed, "enough to know that you find me attractive, enough to know you've been thinking about me, enough to know you think we live in different worlds." Sophia wanted to die, wanted the expensive Persian rug beneath her feet to open up and drag her down to somewhere, anywhere that wasn't here having this conversation. "Mr. Whitmore, those were just, I didn't mean." "Were you lying to your friend?" he interrupted, taking a step closer. "When you said those things, were they not true?" She could lie now, could laugh it off and pretend it was all exaggeration or girl talk or anything except the mortifying truth, but something in the way he looked at her, something in his eyes, made the words stick in her throat. "No," she finally whispered, "I wasn't lying." Daniel was quiet for a long moment, just looking at her with an intensity that made her skin tingle. "Good," he finally said, "because I need to be honest with you about something too. I've noticed you, Sophia, from the first week you started working here. I've noticed the way you care about your work, the way you treat people with kindness, the way your whole face lights up when you smile. And yesterday, when I saw you standing there in my bathroom looking so shocked and embarrassed, my first thought wasn't about the awkwardness or the breach of protocol. My first thought was that you had the most beautiful eyes I'd ever seen." Sophia's breath caught. This couldn't be happening. Wealthy businessmen didn't say things like this to their housemaids. This was a movie plot, not real life. "You can't say things like that," she managed, her voice barely audible. "You're my employer." "I know," Daniel said, and she could hear frustration in his voice. "Believe me, I know exactly how inappropriate this is. I know all the reasons why this is a terrible idea. You work for me, there's a massive power imbalance, we come from completely different backgrounds. I could list 100 reasons why we should both forget this conversation ever happened." "Then why aren't we forgetting it?" Sophia asked. "Because I can't," Daniel said simply. "I've tried, these past few weeks, I've tried to ignore it, tried to tell myself it was nothing, but then yesterday happened, and I heard you say my name in that garden, heard you admit you felt something too, and Sophia, I can't pretend anymore." Before Sophia could respond, before she could process any of what was happening, the study door opened. Rosa appeared, looking apologetic. "Mr. Whitmore, sorry to interrupt, but your 3 o'clock appointment just arrived early." "Thank you, Rosa," Daniel said smoothly, his professional mask sliding back into place effortlessly. "Tell them I'll be right there." Rosa nodded and disappeared, leaving the door open. Daniel looked at Sophia for one more long moment. "We'll talk more later," he said quietly, "but Sophia, think about what I said, think about whether you're willing to explore this, whatever this is between us." Sophia nodded mutely, unable to form words. She picked up her laundry basket with shaking hands and walked out of the study on legs that barely supported her weight. Her mind was spinning. Daniel Whitmore, her boss, the man who signed her paychecks, had just confessed that he had feelings for her. Impossible, absolutely impossible, yet it had happened. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Sophia went through her tasks mechanically, her body on autopilot while her brain tried to process everything. By the time 6 o'clock rolled around and she could finally go home, she was exhausted, emotionally drained, and more confused than she had ever been in her life. She was gathering her things in the staff room when Rosa came in. "Sophia, before you go, Mr. Whitmore wanted me to tell you that tomorrow you'll be helping prepare for a special guest. His former fiancée is visiting." Sophia's head snapped up. "His fiancée?" "Former fiancée," Rosa corrected. "They broke up about 8 months ago, but apparently she's in town and wants to discuss some business matter. Her name is Vanessa Sterling, very sophisticated, very." Rosa paused, searching for the right word, demanding. Something cold settled in Sophia's stomach. "When is she arriving?" "Tomorrow morning," Rosa said. "She'll probably be here most of the week. Mr. Whitmore wants everything perfect, you know how it is." Sophia nodded, but inside she felt like she was drowning. Just hours after Daniel had confessed his feelings, his ex-fiancée was coming to stay. The universe, it seemed, had a cruel sense of timing. She drove home in silence, picked up Camila from the neighbor who watched her after school, made dinner, helped with homework, gave baths, read stories, all the normal routine of being a single mother, but her mind was elsewhere, stuck in that study with Daniel's words echoing in her head, stuck wondering what tomorrow would bring, stuck between hope and fear and 100 emotions she couldn't name. That night, after Camila was asleep, Sophia sat on her small balcony and looked up at the stars. Somewhere across town, Daniel was probably in his massive mansion doing the same thing, thinking the same thoughts, wondering the same questions. Two people from different worlds, pulled together by something neither of them fully understood, and tomorrow, that connection would be tested in ways neither of them were prepared for. The next morning arrived with dark clouds and the promise of rain. Sophia dressed carefully, wanting to look professional, wanting to feel confident. She needed every bit of strength she could gather, because something told her today was going to change everything, one way or another. She arrived at the mansion at 7 as usual, but something felt different. There was tension in the air. She found Rosa in the kitchen already preparing breakfast. "She's here," Rosa said without preamble. "Arrived at 6 this morning, unannounced. Mr. Whitmore wasn't expecting her for another few hours." "Where is she now?" Sophia asked, tying on her apron. "In the blue sitting room having coffee," Rosa replied. "And Sophia, a word of advice, Vanessa Sterling is not like Mr. Whitmore. She's, well, you'll see. Just be careful, keep your head down, do your work, don't engage unless you have to." The warning sent a chill down Sophia's spine, but she nodded and went about her morning tasks. It wasn't until almost 9 o'clock that she finally encountered the infamous Vanessa Sterling, and Rosa's warning proved to be an understatement. Sophia was in the main hallway, arranging fresh flowers in a vase. When she heard the clicking of high heels on the marble floor, she looked up to see a woman who seemed to have stepped out of a fashion magazine, tall, impossibly thin, with platinum blonde hair styled in perfect waves, wearing a cream-colored designer suit that probably cost more than Sophia's car. Her makeup was flawless, her jewelry subtle but clearly expensive, and when she looked at Sophia, her ice-blue eyes were cold and assessing. "You must be the help," Vanessa said, not as a question but as a statement of fact. Her tone made it clear exactly what she thought of the help. "Yes, ma'am," Sophia replied politely. "I'm Sophia, if you need anything." "I need you to move those flowers," Vanessa interrupted, waving a manicured hand dismissively. "They're blocking my view of the garden. Put them somewhere else, somewhere I don't have to look at them." Sophia bit back her first response and simply nodded. of course, I'll move them right away. And while you're at it, Vanessa continued, examining her nails with affected boredom, the coffee that was brought to my room this morning was lukewarm. I expect better service than that. Make sure the next pot is actually hot. I'll let Rosa know, Sophia said, keeping her voice neutral. Rosa, is that the old housekeeper? Vanessa made a face. I keep telling Daniel he needs to update his staff, get some younger people who actually know what they're doing, but he's sentimental about loyalty or some nonsense like that. Sophia felt anger flash through her. Rosa was the kindest, most competent person she had ever worked with, but she swallowed the defensive words that wanted to pour out. Will there be anything else, ma'am? Not from you, Vanessa said, already dismissing her and turning away. Where is Daniel, anyway? I've been here for hours and he's been hiding in that study of his. As if summoned by her words, Daniel appeared at the top of the staircase. I wasn't hiding, Vanessa, I was working. Some of us have businesses to run. Oh please, Vanessa laughed, that sharp, brittle sound that made Sophia's skin crawl. You could hire someone to run your little company. You're far too hands-on, it's exhausting. My little company employs 3,000 people, Daniel said mildly, descending the stairs. I prefer to stay involved. His eyes flicked to Sophia for just a second, a brief glance that Vanessa caught immediately. Her expression shifted, became sharper, more predatory. Daniel, darling, are you going to introduce me properly to your staff, or do you make a habit of staring at the maids? Sophia was just arranging flowers, Daniel said evenly. Sophia, thank you, that will be all for now. Sophia nodded and picked up the vase, grateful for the excuse to leave, but as she walked past them, she heard Vanessa's voice, low but deliberately loud enough to carry. Really, Daniel, you should be more careful about where you look, people might get the wrong idea. Sophia's hands tightened on the vase, but she kept walking. She made it to the kitchen before the anger really hit. Rosa took one look at her face and sighed. You met her. She's awful, Sophia said, setting the vase down harder than necessary. Absolutely awful. How was he ever engaged to someone like that? Vanessa wasn't always so bitter, Rosa said thoughtfully, but she's one of those people who needs to feel superior to everyone around her. It's exhausting, but Mr. Whitmore sees through it. That's probably why they broke up. She knows, Sophia said suddenly, realizing it as she spoke. She saw the way he looked at me, just for a second, but she saw it, and she knows. Then you need to be very careful, Rosa warned. Vanessa Sterling doesn't like competition, and she's not above making trouble for people she sees as threats. Rosa's words proved prophetic. Over the next few days, Vanessa made Sophia's life progressively more difficult. She found fault with everything Sophia did. The way she cleaned wasn't thorough enough, the way she served meals was too slow, the way she spoke was too familiar. Every interaction was designed to humiliate, to remind Sophia of her place, and the worst part was that Vanessa did it all with a smile, with a sweetness that made her cruelty seem almost accidental. Daniel seemed aware of what was happening. Sophia caught him watching Vanessa with a frown more than once, but what could he do? Vanessa was technically a guest, and any defense of Sophia would only make Vanessa's suspicions worse, so Sophia endured, kept her head down, did her work, and tried not to let the constant belittling break her spirit. On Thursday afternoon, everything came to a head. Sophia was serving lunch in the dining room, just her and one other staff member. Vanessa was holding court at the table, telling some elaborate story about a party in Paris, her voice artificially bright, her laugh too loud. Daniel sat across from her, his expression polite but distant, clearly not as engaged as Vanessa wanted him to be. Sophia was refilling water glasses when Vanessa suddenly turned to her. You know, I was just thinking, she said in that sweet poisonous tone, what does someone like you do when you're not working? Do you have hobbies, interests, or is scrubbing floors your primary form of entertainment? The room went very quiet. The other staff member froze. Daniel's head came up sharply, but Sophia, tired of the constant attacks, tired of being treated as less than human, felt something inside her shift. I spend my free time with my daughter, Sophia said calmly, continuing to pour water without looking at Vanessa. I help her with homework, read her stories, make sure she knows she's loved and valued, you know, normal things that people do. Vanessa's smile became brittle. Oh how sweet, a single mother, how terribly modern. Vanessa, Daniel's voice was sharp, a warning. But Sophia wasn't done. She set down the water pitcher and looked directly at Vanessa for the first time. You want to know what I think is terribly modern, ma'am? The idea that a person's worth is determined by their bank account instead of their character, the idea that being cruel to people who can't fight back makes you powerful instead of just sad. My daughter is 7 years old and she already understands that treating people with kindness and respect is more important than designer clothes and expensive jewelry. Maybe you should spend some time learning the same lesson. The silence that followed was deafening. Vanessa's face had gone white, then red, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. The other staff member looked like she might faint. Daniel stood up from his chair. Sophia is right, he said clearly, his eyes on Vanessa, and you've been testing my patience all week. I invited you here as a courtesy to discuss the business with your father's company, not so you could treat my staff like they're beneath you. Daniel, Vanessa's voice was shrill now, all pretense of sweetness gone. Are you seriously choosing a maid over me? I'm choosing decency over cruelty, Daniel corrected. There's a difference. Now if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. Sophia, could you come to my study in 10 minutes, we need to discuss something. He left the dining room, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Vanessa turned her fury on Sophia. You just made the biggest mistake of your life, she hissed. I will ruin you. I will make sure you never work in this city again. Do you understand me? I have connections. I have power. I will destroy you. You can try, Sophia said quietly, surprised by her own calm, but threats don't scare me as much as they used to. I've faced worse than you, Vanessa, and I'm still standing. She picked up the water pitcher and walked out of the dining room with her head held high. Her hands were shaking, her heart was racing, but there was also something else, something that felt almost like freedom. She had spent days letting Vanessa belittle her, accepting the cruelty because she needed the job, needed the money, but standing up for herself, defending her dignity and her daughter, that had been worth the risk. 10 minutes later, Sophia knocked on Daniel's study door. Her earlier courage had faded a bit, replaced by the practical worry of what this conversation might bring. Had she just gotten herself fired? Had standing up to Vanessa cost her the job she desperately needed? She took a deep breath and entered when Daniel called for her to come in. He was standing by the window, looking out at the gardens with his hands in his pockets. When he turned to face her, his expression was complicated, part admiration, part concern, part something else she couldn't quite name. Sit down, he said gently, gesturing to one of the leather chairs near his desk. I'd rather stand, Sophia replied. If you're going to fire me, I'd prefer to take it standing up. Daniel's eyebrows rose. Fire you? Why would I fire you? Because I just insulted your guest, Sophia said. Because I spoke out of turn. Because I forgot my place. Your place, Daniel repeated, walking closer to her. Sophia, do you want to know what I saw in that dining room? I saw a woman with more courage and integrity than most people I know, defending her dignity with grace. I saw someone who refused to be diminished by another person's cruelty. That's not something that deserves punishment, that's something that deserves respect. Sophia felt her eyes start to burn with unexpected tears. She's going to make trouble. Let her try, Daniel said firmly. Vanessa's threats are mostly hot air. Her family's business needs mine more than mine needs theirs. She knows that. The engagement ended because I finally saw who she really was, someone who measures her worth by making others feel small. I should have ended things years sooner. Why didn't you? Sophia asked quietly. Daniel was silent for a moment, then sighed. Because it was comfortable, expected. Our families moved in the same circles. Everyone assumed we'd get married eventually, and I was so focused on building the company that I didn't stop to ask myself if I actually wanted the life that came with her. It wasn't until about a year ago that I realized I was settling, choosing a life that looked right on paper instead of one that felt right in my heart. What changed? Sophia asked. I started paying attention to what actually mattered, Daniel said. I started noticing the people around me who genuinely cared about their work, who treated others with kindness regardless of their position. I started realizing that wealth and status don't make someone worthy of respect. Character does, compassion does, courage does. He stepped closer, and Sophia found herself unable to look away from his eyes. When you started working here, he continued, I noticed immediately that you were different. you smiled at the gardener like he was your equal, you stayed late to help Rosa when she was overwhelmed, you brought lunch for the security guard who mentioned he'd forgotten his, you treated everyone with the same respect you'd give a friend, and I thought, that's what I want in my life, that kind of authenticity, that kind of heart. Daniel, Sophia whispered, using his first name without thinking, you can't say things like that. Why not? He challenged, because of what other people will think, because society says we shouldn't be having this conversation. Sophia, I've spent 34 years doing what was expected, building the right company, dating the right people, maintaining the right image, and you know what, I've never been more miserable. Then you walked into my bathroom by accident, and for the first time in years, I felt something real. This is crazy, Sophia said, but she didn't step back. We barely know each other. Then let's change that, Daniel said, have dinner with me, not here, somewhere neutral, somewhere we can talk without the weight of employer and employee hanging over us, just two people getting to know each other. Before Sophia could answer, her phone rang. She pulled it from her pocket, saw her neighbor's name on the screen, and felt her stomach drop. I'm sorry, I have to take this, she said, answering quickly. Hello? Sophia, it's Mrs. Chen. Her neighbor's voice was tight with worry. You need to come home right now, Camila, she's sick, really sick, high fever, she's asking for you, I think you should take her to the hospital. Sophia's world tilted. I'm on my way, keep her cool, I'll be there in 20 minutes. She hung up and looked at Daniel, all thoughts of their conversation forgotten. My daughter is sick, I have to go, I'm sorry, I know my shift isn't over, but... Go, Daniel said immediately, of course go, do you need anything, can I help? No, I just need to get to her. Sophia was already moving toward the door, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Camila had been fine this morning, how could she be sick enough for the hospital now? Sophia, wait, Daniel caught her arm gently, take my car, it's faster than yours, and take this. He pulled out his wallet and handed her several bills, for the hospital, for whatever you need, don't argue, just take it. Sophia wanted to refuse, wanted to maintain her independence, but looking at his face, seeing genuine concern there, she realized that sometimes accepting help wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. Thank you, she whispered, taking the money and the car keys he pressed into her hand. Call me, Daniel said, let me know she's okay. Sophia nodded and ran. Daniel's car was a sleek sedan that handled like a dream. She made it home in 15 minutes, found Camila burning with fever on Mrs. Chen's couch, scooped her daughter into her arms and drove straight to the emergency room. The next few hours were a blur of waiting rooms and worried nurses, tests and more tests. Finally a doctor came out to explain that Camila had a severe throat infection that had spread quickly. They wanted to keep her overnight for observation and for antibiotics. Sophia sat beside Camila's hospital bed, holding her daughter's small hand, watching her sleep. The antibiotics were already working, the fever coming down, but Sophia couldn't shake the fear that had gripped her when she first got that call. This was why she worked so hard, why she endured Vanessa's cruelty and the exhaustion of long hours, to make sure Camila had healthcare, had a safe home, had everything she needed. Her phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. How is she? Sophia typed back, stable, they're keeping her overnight, throat infection, she'll be okay. Thank God. Do you need anything? Can I bring you food, coffee, anything? I'm okay, thank you for the car and the money, I'll pay you back. Absolutely not, I'm glad I could help. Take tomorrow off, stay with your daughter, she needs you. I can't afford to miss work. Sophia, you'll still be paid, take the time, spend it with Camila, that's an order from your boss. Sophia smiled despite her exhaustion. Okay, thank you, Daniel, really, thank you. She set the phone down and looked at her sleeping daughter. Camila's face was peaceful now, the tight lines of pain gone, and Sophia felt something shift in her chest. For so long she had believed she had to do everything alone, had to be strong without asking for help, had to keep walls up between her and everyone else, but Daniel had offered help without judgment, had shown her that accepting support didn't make her weak. Rosa texted her an hour later, heard about Camila, sending prayers, also wanted you to know Vanessa left, packed up and drove off in a fury, good riddance. Sophia laughed quietly, careful not to wake Camila. Vanessa was gone, that was one problem solved, but the bigger question remained: what was she going to do about Daniel, about the feelings growing between them, about the impossible situation they found themselves in? Camila stirred and opened her eyes. "Mama? I'm here, baby." Sophia squeezed her hand gently. "How do you feel?" "My throat hurts," Camila whispered, "but better than before." "Did I scare you?" "A little bit," Sophia admitted, "but you're going to be fine. The medicine is working. We just have to stay here tonight so the doctors can make sure you're all better." "Will I miss school tomorrow?" Camila asked hopefully. "Yes, you'll miss school tomorrow," Sophia smiled, "and I'm staying home with you. We can watch movies and eat popsicles and have a lazy day." "That sounds nice." Camila yawned, already drifting back to sleep. "Mama, why do you look sad?" Sophia was surprised. "I'm not sad, baby, I'm just tired." "You look the way you did when Daddy left," Camila said with the uncomfortable perceptiveness of children, "like you're worried about something big." Sophia's ex-husband had left when Camila was 4, unable to handle the responsibility of being a father, unable to choose his family over his own selfish wants. It had broken Sophia's heart, not because she loved him anymore, but because she had to watch her daughter's confusion and pain. "I'm not worried like that," Sophia said honestly. "I'm just thinking about some grown-up things, nothing for you to worry about." "Is it about your work?" Camila asked. "About that big house you clean?" "Sort of," Sophia admitted. "There's someone at work, someone who's been very kind to me, and I'm trying to figure out what that means." "Is it the man who gave you the car keys?" Camila asked, too smart for her own good. "How did you know about that?" "I heard you tell Mrs. Chen when she was helping me get ready," Camila said. "She said it sounded like someone cared about you. She said it was about time someone did." Sophia felt tears prick her eyes. "Mrs. Chen talks too much." "Mama," Camila squeezed her hand with surprising strength, "you're always taking care of me, you work so hard, you're so tired all the time. Maybe it's okay if someone wants to take care of you too, maybe you don't have to do everything alone." Out of the mouths of children, Sophia thought. Her 7-year-old daughter had just articulated what she'd been too scared to admit. She had been alone for so long, carrying every burden by herself, that the idea of sharing the load terrified her. What if she let Daniel in and he left like her ex-husband? What if she allowed herself to need him and he decided she wasn't worth the trouble? What if? "When did you get so wise?" Sophia asked, smiling through her tears. "I learn from the best," Camila said simply, then fell back asleep, leaving Sophia alone with her thoughts once more. The night passed slowly. Sophia dozed in the uncomfortable chair beside Camila's bed, waking every time a nurse came in to check vitals. By morning, Camila's fever was completely gone and the doctor declared she could go home with oral antibiotics and rest. Sophia thanked everyone, gathered their things, and drove Daniel's car back to her apartment. She texted him, "Camila's home and doing much better, thank you again for everything, I'll bring your car back this afternoon." "Keep it for the day," he replied. "I have another one, bring it tomorrow when you come back to work, focus on your daughter today." Sophia spent the day doing exactly that. They watched movies, ate soup and popsicles, read books. It was simple and perfect, and somewhere in the middle of it, Sophia made a decision. She was terrified, absolutely terrified, but she was also tired of letting fear run her life, tired of closing herself off from possibility just because possibility came with risk. That evening, after Camila was asleep, Sophia texted Daniel, "About that dinner invitation, my answer is yes." His reply came almost immediately, "Really? Really, I'm scared, I'm terrified actually, but I think you're worth the risk." "Sophia, I promise you won't regret this. How about Saturday night? I'll pick you up at 7. "Saturday works, but Daniel, I need you to understand something. I'm not looking for a fairy tale, I'm not expecting you to rescue me or change my life. I can take care of myself and my daughter. If we're doing this, we're doing it as equals, two people who respect each other, not a rich man and his employee." There was a longer pause before his response came. "That's exactly what I want too, equals, partners, two people learning about each other without all the other noise. Thank you for giving us, a chance." Sophia set her phone down and looked around her small apartment, the worn furniture, the toys scattered across the floor, the life she had built through sheer determination and love. This was who she was, a single mother, a hard worker, someone who knew the value of things that couldn't be bought, and if Daniel truly saw her, truly respected that, then maybe, just maybe, they had a chance at something real. Rosa texted her later that night, "Heard you're going on a date Saturday, good for you, Sophia, you deserve happiness, and for what it's worth, I've worked for Daniel Whitmore for 15 years, he's one of the good ones, he won't hurt you intentionally, give him a chance." Sophia smiled at her phone. Rosa's blessing meant more than the older woman probably realized. She had become a mentor, almost a second mother in these few months. Knowing Rosa approved made the fear a little less overwhelming. Saturday arrived both too fast and not fast enough. Sophia spent the afternoon trying on every outfit she owned. Nothing felt right, everything was either too casual or trying too hard. Camila sat on the bed watching with amusement. "Just wear the blue dress," she finally said, "the one you wore to Aunt Patricia's wedding last year, you look pretty in that one." Sophia pulled out the dress, simple navy blue with a modest neckline and a fitted waist. It was probably the nicest thing she owned, you think? "Definitely," Camila nodded sagely, "and wear your hair down, you never wear it down." Sophia took her daughter's advice. When she looked in the mirror, she hardly recognized herself. The woman staring back looked confident, almost elegant. Her dark hair fell in waves past her shoulders, the blue dress brought out the warmth in her brown eyes. When Daniel arrived at 7 exactly, Camila insisted on answering the door. Sophia heard her daughter's voice from the bedroom, "Hello, you must be Mr. Whitmore, I'm Camila, I've heard about you." Daniel's laugh carried through the small apartment, "All good things, I hope, and please, call me Daniel." "My mom says you were very nice when I was sick," Camila said, "thank you for helping." "Of course," Daniel replied, "I hope you're feeling better now." "Much better," Camila confirmed. Then Sophia heard her add in a serious voice, "My mom is really special, she works hard and she's kind and she deserves someone who will treat her right, so you better be nice to her, or I'll be very disappointed." Sophia rushed out of the bedroom, mortified. "Camila, you can't." But Daniel was grinning, crouched down to Camila's level. "I promise to treat your mom with all the respect and kindness she deserves," he said solemnly. "Is that acceptable?" Camila considered him with narrowed eyes, then nodded. "Acceptable, you may take her to dinner now." Sophia covered her face with her hands. "I am so sorry, I don't know where she learned to be so protective," Daniel finished, standing up and looking at Sophia with an expression that made her breath catch. "It's wonderful, you've raised an amazing daughter, and Sophia, you look absolutely beautiful." She did feel beautiful under his gaze. "Thank you, you look nice too," which was an understatement. He wore dark slacks and a gray sweater that somehow made him look both casual and devastatingly handsome. Mrs. Chen appeared from her apartment next door where she'd been waiting to watch Camila. "You two go have fun, Camila and I have a date with pizza and cartoons, don't worry about rushing back." They drove to a small restaurant on the edge of town, nothing fancy or pretentious, just a family-owned Italian place with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. "I thought about taking you somewhere expensive," Daniel admitted as they sat down, "but that felt like I was trying to impress you with money. I'd rather impress you with conversation." "This is perfect," Sophia said honestly, and it felt real, authentic, comfortable. They talked for hours, about everything and nothing. Daniel told her about growing up as the son of a factory worker, watching his father come home exhausted every night, deciding at age 12 that he would build something different. "People assume I inherited wealth," he said, "but my father worked on assembly lines until his body gave out. Everything I have, I built from nothing. It took years of night school and working 3 jobs and sacrifices most people can't imagine." "I had no idea," Sophia said softly. "Most people don't," Daniel replied. "They see the mansion and the car and assume I was born into it, but I remember what it's like to choose between paying rent and eating. I remember what it's like to feel invisible because of your economic status. That's why Vanessa's behavior disgusted me so much. She was born into wealth and uses it as a weapon. I earned mine and try to remember where I came from." Sophia shared her own story, her parents' early death in a car accident when she was 19, meeting her ex-husband who seemed charming at first but revealed himself to be selfish and cruel, working her way through community college while pregnant, the terror and joy of becoming a mother, the struggle to build a stable life for Camila after her husband left. "You're one of the strongest people I've ever met," Daniel said when she finished, "raising a child alone, working full-time, maintaining your dignity and kindness through it all, that takes courage most people don't have." "I don't feel strong most days," Sophia admitted. "Most days I feel like I'm barely holding it together, like one wrong move and everything will fall apart." "That's what strength looks like," Daniel said, reaching across the table to take her hand. "It's not about never being afraid or tired, it's about getting up every day and doing what needs to be done anyway." His hand was warm around hers, solid and reassuring. Sophia looked at their joined hands and felt something click into place. Maybe this could work, maybe the differences between them weren't as insurmountable as she'd thought, maybe what mattered was what they shared, values and character and a willingness to see each other as equals. When he drove her home later that night, Daniel walked her to her door. "I had a wonderful time," he said. "Can we do this again?" "I'd like that," Sophia replied, then surprised herself by standing on her toes and kissing his cheek. "Thank you for tonight, for seeing me." "Sophia," Daniel caught her hand as she pulled away. "I see you, I've seen you from the beginning, not the maid, not the employee, but you, the woman with courage and heart and more strength than she knows, and I want to keep seeing you, if you'll let me." "One day at a time," Sophia said. "Let's take this one day at a time and see where it goes." "One day at a time," Daniel agreed. "I can work with that."